Hello, I bet you didn't expect to see me again so soon. I am sitting here absolutely flabbergasted as to what is happening at Tottenham Hotspur right now. We have all spent the last day or two getting incredibly excited about the signing of Mohamed Kudus from West Ham. 55 million deal. He's been spotted at Hotspur away today, undergoing his medical, expected to be announced potentially as early as tonight. And then out of nowhere, Tottenham have signed or are about to sign Morgan Gibbs-White from Nottingham Forest. I cannot believe it. I am absolutely shell-shocked, gobsmacked. I'm going to try and make this video as raw as possible in terms of not cutting in between things. I just want to sit here and talk and take it all in, and yes, as well, provide you guys with the background, the knowledge on Gibbs-White, what he's going to bring to Tottenham, how he's going to thrive under Thomas Frank, because, guys, best believe Morgan Gibbs-White is going to be an elite player under Thomas Frank. Thomas Frank has been a huge admirer of Gibbs-White for the longest of times. Manchester City were heavily interested in the player as well for at least the last 2 seasons, but Spurs have pounced on a massive opportunity, and he is going to undergo his medical on Friday. And in the space of 24 hours, Spurs are going to pay 115 million for 2 players. I have wished for times like these forever, for such a long time, that Spurs finally start acting like a serious club in the transfer market. And that is exactly what we are doing. We are saying, go out, get the players you want. And, you know, we always sit here and we just say, if we want this player, just pay the release clause for him. And that is what we have done. £60 million release clause for Gibbs-White, which I believe has just come into effect. So Spurs have moved extremely quickly on the deal. Man City inquired about Gibbs-White earlier in the summer, were quoted 65 million. They opted to go for Ryan Cherki and Timmy Reiniers as well instead of that. But Spurs have now got an incredibly talented attacking midfield core. James Maddison, Dejan Kulusevski, who can play there, Morgan Gibbs-White, Kudus can play in that central midfield role as well, Lucas Bergvall if needed, Brennan Johnson if needed. So many players, so much talent. And look, some of you guys may sit there right now and think, yes, okay, Morgan Gibbs-White is a very good player, but do Tottenham need him? Have you heard of having a very good and deep and capable squad? Take a look at Manchester City's squad when they were so dominant and winning the league every season. They needed players off the bench. They needed to rotate their squad across all 4 competitions. And it looks like Spurs are finally turning their attentions to that. And I just feel like we have been so deprived of this for so many years as Tottenham fans that we haven't been able to turn to our bench and go, we have got some seriously good talent on there. And that's not me saying that Morgan Gibbs-White is going to be a bench player, by the way, because he is not. He is an elite player. He is. Since he made that move from Wolves to Nottingham Forest, he has gone up a level. And I would go so far as to say has been one of, if not the best attacking midfielders in the Premier League over the last year or so. He got regular call-ups to the England national squad, ahead of James Maddison, by the way. And this is where it all fits together, because what we want to avoid is what happened to the Spurs squad last season. Injuries everywhere. We know that James Maddison cannot play a full season without getting injured. That is just a simple fact. Kulusevski has just undergone surgery on a pretty significant injury, and we don't know how long he's going to be sidelined for. So what we've done, we've gone, let's cover our tracks, let's go out and buy another really good midfielder, and that player is Morgan Gibbs-White. I am so excited. I've talked a lot about Eberici Eze and how much I love him as a player, and maybe it's just a certain flair for these like attacking players, but Morgan Gibbs-White is up there as well with one of my favourites. Incredible player. Only 25 years old as well. £60 million I think is a fair price for him. Has come through the ranks in the under 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21s England squad as well. And if we take a look at his stats from last season, 7 goals across all competitions. By the way, that was only the Premier League. and 10 assists across all competitions as well. So we know that he can score, we know that he can assist. What he's also really good at, which I think is going to be a brilliant match with Thomas Frank, is pressing and counter-pressing. It is the energy levels, it is the constant running. And while James Maddison is an incredibly talented player on the actual ball, Morgan Gibbs-White gives you that athleticism and that pace and that power, as well as the technical ability as well. And that is one of the many, many reasons why I'm so excited for him to be a Tottenham player. And I really hope you guys watching this are excited as well, because this is unheard of for Tottenham. And I'm still sort of like pinching myself, like, is this real? Have we just dropped 100 million plus on 2 players within the space of a couple of days? And I literally put that video out saying why Spurs are moving so slowly in the transfer market a day ago. And since then, we've had 2 of our biggest signings ever break across social media. It is fantastic. Honestly, fantastic. So let's get into the nitty gritty of this Morgan Gibbs-White deal. So he is obviously going to sign a long-term contract with Spurs, £60 million release clause. Does look like Nottingham Forest are going to go back in for Johan Wissa and use maybe some of that money. So that deal may not be happening for Spurs. But Morgan Gibbs-White, again, incredibly versatile player. I do think his best position is as a number 10 in that attacking midfield, creative outlet role. And he demonstrated that mostly for Forest, who, by the way, obviously had a brilliant campaign last season. They were Europa Conference League qualification. They have now likely been moved up to the Europa League because of what's going on with Palace and Lyon. And Gibbs-White was a central part in that, in feeding Chris Wood, in helping Anthony Elanga make those brilliant runs and everything else in between. I think last season he played about three quarters of his games in that central attacking midfield role. 32 out of the 38 appearances he made, which is a lot. He's also played in a bit more of a deep central midfield role, which we could see happen under Thomas Frank. And particularly, I think, when we play with 3 central defenders, I think we may see then in midfield, say we play like a 3-5-2, if we had the 3 defenders and then a 3 in midfield of like Maddison, Gibbs-White and Bergvall, or whoever our new number 6 is going to be in there as well, and then the 2 on the wings and the strikers as well. The squad is all of a sudden becoming very, very exciting, and Gibbs-White can play on the wing if needed as well. He has played the odd game here or there as a right midfielder, right winger, and like I said, his athleticism plays into that so that he can be adaptable. As I mentioned a minute ago, his defensive work is actually so impressive. When you look at the numbers and you look at the stats, right, and bear in mind, we're talking about a number 10. Gibbs-White last season averaged 1.38 tackles per 90 minute, 0.74 interceptions per 90, 0.93 clearances per 90, and 1.28 aerial duels won per 90. Now, we can take this with a pinch of salt because Nottingham Forest were obviously a bit more of a low block team than I think Tottenham are going to be under Thomas Frank. But those numbers for a central attacking midfielder are really, really encouraging. And you know that he is always going to put the work in to do his part for the team and his teammates around him. Now, if we look at the more attacking stats, we can see that he has around 35 passes completed per game. Progressive passes, that's one of the key ones. 5 or 6 progressive passes per 90. Progressive carries, 2.22 per 90. Successful take-ons, at least 1, which is a stat that we love to talk about on this channel. I talked about it with Mohamed Kudus in significant detail in my previous video, which, by the way, if you haven't watched, go and watch my Mohamed Kudus video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, all of that YouTube stuff. Honestly, I'm in such an incredibly good mood, and I hope you guys are as well. And the key thing for Spurs now is building on this, because you could argue that Tottenham's most important position is still getting that number 6 into the squad. Morgan Gibbs-White can play as an 8, but he can't really play much deeper than that. He's not that kind of player. And to me, it seems like we still need to fill that position. Whether we will spend big on that position now with these funds being put to Kudus and Gibbs-White is another question. However, this has made my week, to be honest with you. Absolutely made my week. What we do have to question as well is what this may mean for a couple of players already in the Spurs squad. Does it mean someone like Yves Bissouma is going to be moved on momentarily? Does it mean that Kulusevski or James Maddison could even be at risk of being moved on this summer. They're all questions that we're going to find the answer out to very, very soon. But for now, we can just be incredibly excited about the player we are signing, Morgan Gibbs-White. And all you need to do is you need to go onto social media on X, type NFFC, hit search, and look at how gutted the Nottingham Forest fans are to lose arguably their best player. They've lost Elanga now. They've lost Morgan Gibbs-White to Tottenham. They are really being picked apart. It's a very similar situation to Brentford almost. These teams that did so well last season are just, their players are getting picked up by the bigger giants of the Premier League. I don't really like using that term. But yeah, I mean, Gibbs-White, he's worked very, very hard for this opportunity. He obviously started out at Wolves. I think he was there since he was 8 years old, and he worked his way up. He finally got his move to Nottingham Forest in the 2022 season, I think. And as I say, since then, he's just been on an upwards trajectory, and we've seen it. You know, we sit there, and those of you that watched a bit of Nottingham Forest last season will know that he is a player that is capable of producing magic moments, whether that's a strike from distance, putting one on a plate for our striker, whoever it is. It's going to be fantastic to watch him, and yeah, that is the big thing to me. The interesting thing is this. I think the main competition between Morgan Gibbs-White is going to be with James Maddison. So is it going to be the case that Thomas Frank plays both of them? Is he only going to play one of them? Because you're now talking about two maybe elite, if I can go that far, attacking midfielders that are both going to want to be playing. Obviously, James Maddison's one of our vice captains. He's a leader of the squad. The stats are very, very interesting because James Maddison completes less shots per game. Morgan Gibbs-White takes on the striking of the ball a lot more than James Maddison. However, James Maddison looks to be more prolific in terms of how often it takes him to score or get an assist. And that may just be because of the way that Spurs are suited and lined up and have been under Ange Postecoglou in the last sort of few seasons. Maddison's been that main guy who's dropped deep to get the ball, played in a more advanced role, been all over the place. But do not doubt that Gibbs-White is going to add a significant amount of quality to this Tottenham team. We may end up playing with two number 10s. Gibbs-White may play in a slightly deeper role under Thomas Frank. Hell, he could even play on the wing or as a second striker for all we know. I think the questions about how Thomas Frank is going to set up now have all gone out of the window, and none of us have any sort of idea. So let's just sit back and enjoy the ride. But Tottenham, I can understand why they have made this signing. He is a homegrown talent as well. Let's not forget about that. So he ranks towards our homegrown issues that we've been having. And he is someone that can provide cover in multiple positions and just elevates the squad, makes us better. And it is fantastic to be a Spurs fan at the moment. But let me know what you think of this signing down in the comments. Are you as blown away as I am about Spurs moving like this in the transfer market? And long may it continue, by the way. Last point from me. The reason we're able to pay for this and fund it is there are strong rumours about investment into Tottenham this summer, and that is why these funds have been made available. Reports are that ENIC have pumped over £100 million into Tottenham to make additions, as well as a very significant sponsorship deal that is probably going to be announced relatively soon. So we're looking like we're getting investment. There is this injection of cash, and I'm just delighted to see it being spent on the squad, to be honest. All of a sudden, I absolutely cannot wait for pre-season. It is going to be a fantastic year under Thomas Frank. I'm confident now, I can say it. I think it's going to be brilliant. We still have work to do in the transfer market, so let's not mix that up. But for now, we can all be happy and enjoy this signing. I've said this in a lot of my videos already, but if you are enjoying my content, please feel free to go down and hit the subscribe button. I am on the journey to 5,000 subs by the end of the 25-26 season, so all of your support is massively welcomed. I am literally dripping with sweat at the moment because of the heat and everything else in between. I'm just excited, but go enjoy the rest of your weeks. Thank you again for your support, and as always, come on you Spurs.